Hey, what's up everyone? Raging Golden Eagle here, having way too much fun as always. Today, coming at you live from the middle of a pretty big thunderstorm. So in case you notice that something sounds like a war zone, then well, that's your explanation. But either way, got this story from about a week ago. That's the perfect example of reality just cock-slapping SJW ideology. That part's not surprising at all, because it happens all the time. But what's annoying is how they respond. Blind recruitment trial to boost gender equality making things worse, study reveals. Leaders of the Australian Public Service will today be told to hit pause on blind recruitment trials, which many believed would increase the number of women in senior positions. And when they say many, they of course just mean ivory tower academics with no experience in the real world, and the useful idiots they've been able to successfully brainwash. Everyone else could have seen this coming from a mile away. So what exactly did they do in this blind recruitment study? In a bid to eliminate sexism, thousands of public servants have been told to pick recruits who have had all mention of their gender and ethnic background stripped from their CVs. So basically, while they're sifting through resumes, they have no indication of gender and ethnic background. Although for good measure, they may have also wanted us to eliminate educational background as well, because if someone has a gender studies degree, you probably know their gender. Now, the funny part is, what they assumed would happen is that management would hire more women when they can only consider the professional merits of candidates. But that didn't happen. Not only did they reveal that there isn't any discrimination against women going on, but in fact it's the exact opposite. These employers are discriminating against men. The trial found assigning a male name to a candidate made them 3.2% less likely to get a job interview. Adding a woman's name to a CV made the candidate 2.9% more likely to get a foot in the door. Excellent, so you've discovered anti-male discrimination going on. Are you gonna fix it? Are you gonna do anything about it? Oh, of course not, because the end goal of all this bullshit is diversity, not meritocracy and fairness. We should hit pause and be very cautious about introducing this as a way of improving diversity, as it can have the opposite effect. And I fail to see what the problem here is. The only time it would have the opposite effect is when there's already discrimination going on. But of course, SJWs being SJWs, they split discrimination up into two categories. The last bit of this video is going to be taken directly from the study itself, not that article. Specifically in the summary. All links in the description as usual in case you want to see them yourself. But this line here, I don't say this too often, but this is just blatantly offensive. We found that the public servants engaged in positive, not negative, discrimination towards female and minority candidates. So notice the wordplay going on here. They're not calling this discrimination against men and whites. They're calling this positive discrimination towards women and minorities. We gotta put a good positive spin on it, because this is exactly what we want. Could you imagine this the other way around? All hell would be breaking loose. But either way, the specifics here are actually pretty funny too. Participants were 2.9% more likely to shortlist female candidates and 3.2% less likely to shortlist male applicants when they were identifiable, compared to when they were de-identified. So again, proof that we found discrimination, but of course we're not going to do anything about it because this is labeled as positive discrimination. And before I move on, how fucking sad does this make these people now? Even with all this positive discrimination in their favor, they still are allegedly claimed to be discriminated against and make up a minority of the people there. But moving on, minority males were 5.8% more likely to be shortlisted and minority females were 8.6% more likely to be shortlisted when identifiable compared to when applications were de-identified. Alright, so now in addition to sexism, you've discovered racism, which again, you're not going to do anything about because this is positive racism, right? But here's a kicker right here, the last line of the summary. Overall, the results indicate the need for caution when moving towards blind recruitment processes in the Australian Public Service, as de-identification may frustrate efforts aimed at promoting diversity. So there you go. We now have solid proof that diversity is the one and only goal they have. Just diversity for the sake of diversity, nothing else. They want diversity so bad they're willing to kick meritocracy to the curb to get it. And then they wonder, as us straight white males see this, why we're choosing to drop out of society. Well, it goes both ways, that's all I'm gonna say. You view us as a nuisance to just milk for all they're worth and then discard, we're gonna view society the same way. Simple as that. You can't go out of your way to create this blatantly hostile environment and just expect us to suck it up and deal with it. And finally, what really pisses me off the most about all of this is that they still insist on just putting a band-aid on the problem instead of actually going to the root of the issue. Now that they have some proof that women and minorities aren't as qualified as white men, how about trying to help these women and minorities get their qualifications before they get out into the job market and need this goddamn welfare? Have you ever considered that? But that would be too hard and take too much money, so instead, here, use these quotas. It's gonna work out so well. If we need any more proof that we're in the declining years of Western civilization, this is it. As soon as you hamstring meritocracy, your society is as good as done. You're only going to be around exactly as long as it takes for some meritocratic competitor to come and suck up all the talent that you're disposing of. Then it's all over for you. Western societies think they could get away with it because we're top dog in the world, right? No one's going to stand up against us. Well, Rome thought the same thing. And that's all I got to say, guys. Thanks for listening.